Because at the morning break and at lunchtime, Stu will have raffle tickets available to be drawn after lunch, and good God, if my memory serves me correct, if you win you get the websites thing you've got the leaflet for. If you don't, you get £50 voucher off
the sale price this weekend, yeah.
Which is already lower than it normally is anyway, but you've got a leaflet thing, tells you all about it, so have a look at that at the morning break and have a word with you. So, good morning.
Morning.
There's one, if you're thinking there's one person not in the room, we got a message from them last night, not able to make it, something going on, so that's why Matthew is not with us. Yes, good morning. Hopefully yesterday's information, secrets, call it what you will, as assimilated inside your head. We'll carry on from where we were. There is, just remembering, by the end of today, we'll all fit together, or at least it should do if I put it in the right order up here. Years ago, yesterday we kind of ended up with stage hypnosis we were talking about. Whatever, I can switch this on. Well, that's warming up. Yeah, years ago, you see hypnotists, and one of the stereotypes was like the big hypnotist. And you certainly see it in black and white films and stuff. And you can actually buy them if you tap into eBay. Hypnotic spiral on here. There we go. If anyone didn't know what I meant, the stereotypical hypnotic spiral, the only difference being that obviously it's printed on plastic or card or whatever and it's got a motor, spinny, spinny, spinny.
Alex, can you send that to our phone?
At lunchtime, we can see if we can work it out. All of these are in the members area, these disky things to put onto your phone. I might be able to Bluetooth it to people in the break, but you have got it in. I'm saying might, I don't know how to use my bloody phone, do I? but we can give it a go. They are in the members area though, so you can download them or email them to yourself and then open the email on your phone and then download it. That's essentially what it is. And the idea of it is you get someone to, it messes with their eyes basically. So that if you get someone to stare at that for a protracted, reasonable length of time, it will naturally give the effect of them being kind of sucked in down the tunnel. And if at the same time you are giving the stereotypical, what people expect to hear, suggestions, you know, the deeper you go, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go, which is totally unnecessary, really, to talk like that. However, that's what people have seen in films, so it's kind of what they expect. So rather than delivering something that doesn't fulfil their expectations and have them questioning it, wondering why it's not like what they thought it was going to be, I always say, deliver what they're, even though it's not necessary, deliver what they think it is, and then you're removing elements of resistance because they're not thinking, oh, I thought it'd be like this. So, well, we'll randomly, John, James, whichever one we'll go to them. Or a random peer group pressure. Take a seat, nice then. We will try what would commonly be known as a progressive relaxation induction, but a fairly speedy progressive relaxation induction, whereby we're merely going to get you to stare at the hypnotic disc, to tie your eyes, ultimately. That's the bloody advertising from the app because they haven't really paid for the upgrade. And it's just going to hopefully kind of tire out your eyes, that's the idea. So, what I want you to do is just stare directly at the disc. Okay. Take a nice deep breath in. And out. Keep staring at the disc, and you should do, it's almost as if you start to kind of go down along the dark, calm, relaxing tunnel. And that laughter helps you relax more as you realise it just feels so good right now. You take another nice deep breath in. And the very moment I count from 3 to 1, you'll just feel that it's so much easier to let your eyes close down. You have your head fall forward onto your chest. 3, the deeper you go, the better you feel. In fact, as I bring the phone towards your eyes, it's just so much easier to close your eyes down. 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes, let your head fall forward. Eyes remain tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down. Now, I could get him to do all manner of stuff now, but that would use up a period of time that we need for training. So I'm merely going to go 3, 2, 1, you're back in the room for now. Brilliant. In fact, no, actually, what I should have done is sleep, 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 sleep. Deeper and deeper. The deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go. Because in a few moments' time when I awaken you, you will be absolutely convinced in the break, if anyone speaks to you, you'll be absolutely convinced that the hypnotist offered you £50 to play along. And the more that people tell you that this didn't happen, the more convinced you'll be that it actually didn't take place. And it doesn't matter how much they tell you that it didn't, the more you'll believe it did. 3, 2, 1, wakey, rise and shine. Give them a round of applause. He goes back to the audience. Now, were we in a totally different situation than here? For example, if you were to go on YouTube, or my website, magicalguru.com, and then click on the YouTube to take to my celebrity hypnotist YouTube account. If you type into the Jonathan Royle hypnotises Paul Voudini, you will see me at Blackpool Magic Convention hypnotising this guy, Paul Voudini, and getting him to do various things like you would perceive a stage hypnotist would get people to do. So, you know, forgetting things, doing things, whatever. And at the end, you will notice that I go in a moment, I'm going to wake you up, and when I do, and I send you back, everyone, you know, you're going to be telling everyone that the hypnotist offered you 50 quid. And the more they tell you that he didn't, the more you'll be convinced that he did. Now, just keep your eyes on the screen for a moment. What's going to happen now? What you just sake of camera. The hypno-disc I showed you at the beginning goes forever. This one eventually changes and says, please play along and I'll give you £50 after the show. Now, it's been programmed in such a way that a little black dot appears at the bottom, which you can look at with your peripheral vision. And when the little black dot appears, it tells you you've only got a couple of seconds and then the words are going to appear. This is so that you can be showing this to the audience casually. Not making a point of, look, it's normal, but just holding it like you're not bothered, so they remember afterwards there couldn't have been anything about that. And the moment you see the little black dot appear, which firstly appears and then flashes on and off, there's real warning. So it takes quite a while, so you're just talking stuff. It's appeared, I now make sure this turns towards the person, and you start, you know, it's going, saying whatever you say. And ultimately they will get this displayed at them. Please play along, they'll give you 50 quid afterwards. It then reverts back to the disc, so you can, as you say, close your eyes down, you can take the disc and just casually, it's not a case of going, look, it's not, it's just a case of letting them see and get rid of your phone. Now, if you file the disc that says please play along under a file name like, you know, picture of dog, and you purposely file it under your photos section of your phone, and you file the genuine disc, where's the mute gone? There we go, be back up here. The genuine disc under the app which explains what that is on Yes course, where to download the app from for playing these animated GIFs, then if anyone does get hold of your phone, they're going to open the GIF player. And all they're going to find is a Hypnodisc that spins forever and ever and ever and ever, which compounds the reality in the people watching in the pub or whatever's head that at no point did you say you'd offer them 50 quid. You can do this very close quarters because, of course, you are not whispering anything to them, so there's nothing for people to overhear. And the person invariably will, I've never had them not play along yet. There's a bit of common sense. You're not going to pick the person out who's clearly the mouthy, try and hypnotise me. You use a suggestibility test that we'll come to later, and then pick someone who's reasonably suggestible, but just because you can't be asked to hypnotise them, say, use that, if you so desired. I'm just showing you another way. This is what they call dual reality, because the person up here thinks, haha, I'm getting one over on the audience, and I'm going to earn something out of it, but it don't cost you anything, because at the end, you're very quickly going, in a moment I'm going to awaken you, and when you do, you're going to have one final thing that you believe, and then you very quickly, because what they can sometimes do is suddenly open their eyes, very quickly go, you'll tell everyone the hypnotist offered you 50 quid to play along, and the more they tell you they didn't, the more you'll be convinced he did. They will invariably go and say to somebody, well, he bloody well did, and they'll say, oh, he didn't. So that in itself creates an element of comedy. Now the thing is, at some point they may then say, well hang on, no, it flashed up on his phone. But everyone will go, well, no, clearly you didn't. They'll still defend, because as far as they're concerned, you handled it so freely and let them see it before, during and after. They would not be able to they will not comprehend the idea that there might have been a little bit that appeared and flashed on and off to warn you when it was going to change to something else. And aside from which, if they do go, he's saying this, if you so desired, you could go, where's my phone? If you filed it in the way I've just said before. And it can, sometimes, this mobile magic as it's called, these animated GIFs, started from something that I was told, Andrew Newton related the story to me, that Robert Halpin, who used to do Glasgow Pavilion, if he was having a bad night and there were too many drums in and people weren't being too animated, he'd get the volunteers up, and if it wasn't going so well, he'd end up with next to nobody. We needed someone to be really animated so that there was enough comedy for the show to carry on. So he'd go up to one of them, but the difference is he's much further from the audience, and he'd be saying, stare at the lights on the microphone, you know, relax, the light's coming in towards you and out away from you and all that. And then he'd just pull the mic away from himself, there's background music going obviously, and he'd literally just be like, just do what I tell you and I'll give you 50 quid after the show. And relaxing deeper, and just close your eyes down and click my fingers, and the person then suddenly becomes incredibly responsive because they want this 50 quid. And at the end of the show he would tell them that the more the audience, because he knew at the end, even if he did, you know, this guy does tell people, whether the audience believed or not, he frankly didn't give a fuck. Because he'd already filled Glasgow Pavilion Theatre and made himself thousands of pounds in the course of the evening. So, you know, he really wasn't bothered. Well, that's kind of a modern update, and that's what they call the dual reality. Now, stage hypnosis, going to round it up on that, we're then going to cover hypnotherapy, it's going to sound ridiculous this, how they link together, the structure of it, then what you need to do in terms of suggestibility test and induction, that's the physical, practical stuff. And then how to bolt it together. Because ultimately, whether you're on stage or in therapy, there are only a couple of things you need to do in the mind of the client. Apparently, and I say apparently, because I say hypnosis doesn't exist, but make them experience something that they will perceive and therefore believe was the experience of being hypnotised. And then if it's therapy, make them believe and perceive that you've gone through an important enough seeming ritualistic process that it will create a new pattern matching. I realised yesterday I started anchoring the idea of pattern matching. It looks a bit like Laurel Hard. But that's ultimately what you do in the stage. You're just giving them the excuse to show off, because in both cases I still completely stand by, and if you followed yesterday, hopefully you'll see the logic behind this. I still completely stand by that whether it's therapeutic or stage hypnosis, it's just a bloody excuse to remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them, so that on stage they can make an idiot of themselves and not to be to blame because the hypnotist made them do it, and in therapy it's so that they can go and do what they should have fucking done themselves anyway. Truly, sincerely, that is what I believe from my experience treating people. And that's compounded by the fact that there's so many different therapeutic approaches out there, and to some degree they all work. Which, that in itself is the illogical thing, because if there was some sort of hypnosis special state or whatnot, then you shouldn't, tinkering with it should fuck things up. But the fact that they still work to some degree, some better than others, and that's not really down to the technique, I think that, because the technique's just an important seeming ritualistic process, it's down to the, more than likely, the delivery, the intent, the belief that's being transmitted by the therapist, or down to the level of perception of the advertising or the office. It's down to those types of things. But it is still all bloody placebo, like we talked about. So yeah, become a Stooges, mobile magic, because one you need to be aware of that. I've just put here, make them win a prize or win fame. It defeats the object, it's a bit too obvious. ITV and its other TV stations around the world, this game show, you're back in the room. They made it too blatantly frigging obvious. But, think this through. This is totally truthful. If you type into Google, you're back in the room, contestants wanted, you'll be able to find the adverts and see for yourself. The adverts that essentially said, contestants wanted for new ITV hypnosis game show. Must A, be prepared to be hypnotised. In return, you'll be given the chance to win prizes of up to £15,000 cash or whatever it was. Apply it. It may as well fucking say, we want out-of-work actors who like the chance to earn more money than they could, being an extra at the Rover's Return or a Coronation Street. Because that's what they ended up with. But if you type in Google, you're back in the room, Jonathan Royle, you'll find my blogs where I went through the entire first series of You're Back in the Room, investigated the people using my knowledge and expertise from my days as an undercover journalist for certain tabloid newspapers, and found all their social media accounts in their real names, and this, that, the other, and got screenshots showing that basically 90% of the people on there were out of work or wannabe actors, models, variety acts, singers and such like, all of whom are in a field, or clearly wanting to be in a field where fame of being on TV, being seen, could prove to be beneficial to them maybe. Aside from the fact they've got a chance of winning money. Plus it was a complete farce, because if hypnosis is real, let's say I'm wrong about everything I've said. If hypnosis was real, then when the hypnotist tells them, in a few moments' time when he awakens you, every time you hear this noise and say a bell goes off, you will imagine that your legs have turned to jelly. Wibbly wobbly, and you'll find it incredibly difficult, nigh on impossible, to hold on to anything. If hypnosis was real, when that individual got hold of a load of balls, which is what happened in the final game of You're Back in the Room, certainly the British one, was they had to grab all the team members, white balls here, and get them across a distant space and into another box over there. And however many balls were in that box at the end, counted up, and each one was worth so much, and it was up to 15 grand a bell. If hypnosis was real, when the bell went off, all the bloody balls should get dropped and go everywhere, shouldn't they? So they should never have won any money. I'm just saying, if you look at clips on YouTube, it becomes glaringly obvious it's the biggest crock of shit. But so is stage hypnosis, full stop. And there are stage hypnotists out there who will swear blind that what I'm telling you is not true. And that clearly I'm saying this because I've never been hypnotised. And clearly I'm saying this because I don't know how to hypnotise people. To them I say, fuck off. Because all the ones who say that haven't been doing it for the past 27 years, travelling the world like me. They tend to be fucking wannabe glorified street hypnotists who haven't got a fucking clue. I won't mention names, but that narrows it down to about 2 people. I have nothing to gain by telling you anything other than the truth. Because no disrespect, none of you are or ever will be competition to me. In the same way as I will never be competition to you if you market yourself right. Because people won't be coming to you if you market yourself right. And going, you know, they're not going to be seeking out a stage hypnotist or an hypnotherapist. They're going to be seeking out you because of the way you brand yourself, the way you advertise yourself. They will have already decided that it's you they want and that it's you they believe can give them that permission to change. Or it's you that looks right for the type of venue they want to book you for. But marketing's not where we're going at the moment. But it is important to remember that you never... It's like going back to what we said yesterday about the law of attraction. The only person you should ever be in competition with is yourself. To be the best possible version of you and market that in the best possible way that you can. So yeah, truly, honestly, stage hypnosis. And yes, I will teach you the hypnotic inductions and deepness later, yes, because essentially you have to go through that bullshit. Well, I say you have to go through that bullshit. There are actually some hypnotists out there who blatantly come on stage and tell the audience, ladies and gentlemen, hypnosis doesn't exist in the way that you think it does. There is no special trance state. All there is the power of suggestion. Allow me to demonstrate. And then they get volunteers and they basically do the exact same thing, but they've told the audience that it's, they haven't used the phrase that it's cobblers, but they, you know, and people will still, because of social compliance, peer group pressure, wanting their 5 minutes of fame, and still, because they could go away afterwards and go, I don't know how and why that worked. The hypnotist doesn't say it's all cobblers, he just says it's down to suggestion rather than trance. Can still go back and go, oh, I don't know why I ended up doing it, but I couldn't stop myself, so they can still blame the perceived authority figure. Yeah, Martin Taylor is one name worth looking up. His subtitle is The Hypnotist Who Opens Your Eye. The hypnotist who, the eye-opening hypnotist or something. It's the fact that he's like literally, you know, you perceive hypnosis as being sleep. Well, he does a large amount of it just telling them to do things. Which I would say, when you look at that, if you look into it, further amplifies the fact of what I'm saying. It's all fucking shite. And stage hypnosis, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to play the parts. Well, just imagine there's dozens of chairs here, it doesn't matter. But I am all the people. There's people next to me. Hypnotist has hypnotised me. So I'm going to be the person doing the stuff and the hypnotist when I'm stood up. So, this will be very Tommy Cooper-esque. But this is what's really going on in stage hypnosis show. So, sleep. Right, so, you close your eyes, F4, whatever. In a few moments' time, I'm talking to you in a few moments' time, and each and every one of you on the stage even, you'll believe that it's 5 AM in the morning, it's freezing cold, somebody's left the window open and it's starting to blow a gale and it's getting colder and colder, and the silly idiot next to you has already stolen the continental quilt. And it's happening now, it's getting colder and colder and colder. You're starting to shiver and shake, the person next to you stolen the quilt. You'll have to remember what I've just said, because obviously I can't be in two places at once. So, shiver and shake, yes, shiver and shake, shiver and shake. Oh, it's cold, shiver and shake. Someone's stolen the quilt, grab the quilt back, grab the quilt back, grab the quilt back. And sleep, relaxing, drifting down, drifting down. It's no longer 5 AM in the morning, it's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're all on the sunny Spanish beach. It's lovely and warm, the sun's beating down. In fact, just stretch out in your sun loungers and keep your eyes tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise, because we do not want the sun to burn your eyes. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, and in fact you need some invisible suntan lotion the very moment, the very second I put it in your hand. You'll start rubbing it into your body as quickly as you can. Some invisible suntan lotion for you, that's it, rub it into your body, and the more you do, the more it cools you down, but then it gets hotter and hotter, you've got to rub it in faster and faster, and oh dear, now it's attracting the flies. Zzz, zzz. Flick those flies away, and so we can go on, which would look something like so. Stretch out in your sun loungers, keep your eyes closed. It's very hot. Here's some suntan lotion, rub it into your body. Oh, it's attracting the flies. It's not fucking difficult. This is the point. You're not. At no point are you getting these people on stage to do anything particularly impressive. Now, this could sound somewhat slightly odd coming from someone who's travelled the world and earned considerable money from this industry and continues to, but stage hypnosis shows do not, in the fucking least, impress me. They're the most boring fucking shambles of attempted entertainment that exists, as far as I'm concerned. However, human nature still enjoys a good freak show, which is ultimately what a stage hypnosis show is. Giving people an excuse to make a dick of themselves, but making it easy for them. Because, break it down, the audience laugh because they go, oh, that person thinks they're freezing cold and they're in bed, and the person next to them stolen the quilt and they're arguing to get it off them. That's what the audience perceives it as, this person up here, as reality as being. So they find it funny when this individual goes, shiver and shake, or steal the quilt. But what are they actually doing? They're sat there with their eyes closed, just rubbing themselves a bit like that, and then apparently pulling. That's fucking hell, that's harder to learn, isn't it? It's not impressive when you break it down. And then, like, the odd day thing. The audience laugh because the person will stretch out in the sun lounger. Oh, they think they're on the beach in Spain. Right? Rub the suntan lotion in. What? They're just rubbing the fucking hands. It's attracting the flies. Flick the flies away. It's not difficult, but the audience find it funny. Here's the thing, it's my contention, belief and experience that A, hypnosis doesn't exist, but that B, it is what I say, because it removes all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret for making an idiot of themselves on stage or not getting off their arse and sorting their life out sooner. But that with stage hypnosis, I believe that you as the hypnotist, the stage hypnotist, are actually, arguably, and I know semantically this is sometimes confusing when I say hypnosis doesn't exist, that I'm about to say you're hypnotising somebody or something. But you are arguably, if you're hypnotising anyone, it's not the people on stage, it's the bloody audience that are watching. Because the perception of the audience is that these people on stage are having some glorious technical fantasy inside their heads, where illusions and things you've suggested to them are becoming real, and they're seeing the physical evidence happening. which is made all the funnier by the fact, you know, adding music in. Sleep. In a few moments' time, they awaken you and you hear this piece of music, and a snippet of music plays. So it could be Elvis, Jailhouse Rock. Whenever you hear that piece of music, you become the wonderful world's leading, living reincarnation, the world's greatest Elvis Presley tribute act. And the more noise the audience makes, the more outrageous you'll become. Nod your head if you understand, which essentially is saying, do you understand what I've just said, what you've got to do when you open your eyes and you hear that music, and do you agree to do it? If you do, nod your head. Although if you said that, it will become slightly more impressive to the audience. Less impressive, I should say. But that is why you hear stage hypnotists go, nod your head if you understand. Because decipher the best will say, are you going to do this? So, 3, 2, 1, wakey, wakey, rise and shine, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just give you that broom there. If you could just perhaps clean the stage up for me, that'd be nice, thank you. And then suddenly the music starts playing, Elvis Presley, and the person with the broom suddenly starts going, and apparently bouncing around the stage like Elvis Presley singing into the broom, thinking it's the mic. But what are they actually doing? They're just moving a broom like that, and perhaps going like that. It's not difficult. If you break down, there's not a single routine in the stage hypnosis show that's in any way particularly difficult in terms of what you're asking people to do. It's ridiculously easy, in fact. The only element of difficulty, so to speak, is if you suddenly ask somebody to do something that's a bit too over the top. Suddenly get somebody up on stage and immediately go, in a few moments' time, you're the world's greatest male strippers. Unlikely to work right at the start of the show. Get them doing various things, though, and 45 minutes later, tell them that, they're in what is called in NLP a bind, a double bind situation, whereby if they don't do it, they've then got to kind of justify to everyone why they did all these other daft things during the show. Whereas if they do it, that makes it more believable that they were under the control of the hypnotist at all time, so they can go back to the audience and go, oh, did I? Oh, well, he made me do it. So they can have the 5 minutes of fame, the appreciation, the glory, and it wasn't their fault, because it's removed all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them. So arguably, the people who have been hypnotised with stage hypnosis and street hypnosis are the people who are fucking watching. And that is why I find, definitely with stage hypnosis, it's the people who are watching who are the ones who are genuinely, if you like, hypnotised, arguably, in this example. With street hypnosis, if you tap in street hypnosis on YouTube, quite often the only person who's apparently arguably being hypnotised, as far as I'm concerned, is the wannabe bloody street hypnotist, deluding themselves that they've got some kind of power because of the way they've been incorrectly taught by certain individuals who haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing, without mentioning names. Because quite often you see videos of them that they've got the bait to take, where they've just got one random person on the street and going through this process of getting their foot stuck to the floor, or whatever. Fucking hilarious, you can't lift your foot up, and they'll stand there for like 3 minutes, and oh look, there's no fucking audience, there's just the person and the mate with a... It's pointless. The only person that they're hypnotising is them bloody self into thinking they've done something impressive. Because they haven't. Because there's no... The only thing impressive about a stage hypnosis show is the fact that it can be presented by some people in a manner where it becomes slightly entertaining. That's the only thing that's impressive about it. And the fact that you can earn shitloads of money doing what is a glorified fucking getting wannabe actors up from the audience randomly, and if you break it down, there's nothing impressive about it, because you take a number of people who clearly want to take part because you've asked for volunteers, right? One volunteer is worth 100 pressed people, you know. Someone who wants to do something is far more pliable than someone who you've got to try and convince into doing something. and you tell them exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And then they do it. What the fuck is it? Could anyone work out what's entertaining about that? Other than if you actually are of a strange state of mind that you think that this person, this hypnotist, has some kind of power and control over the people. That is the illusion. And it's only because of that that it becomes entertaining and funny. Truly. Right, skipping back to hypnotherapy briefly. I think we covered most of this yesterday, so it's a very brief recap, but key points: people need permission to change. Now, by that I mean, we refer back to when we mentioned that still we're of an age where this applies. The future people in future decades will be a bit screwed with this one, but where discipline has been involved and people were used to respect their teachers and stuff at school type situation, then there comes a point where people have been conditioned to the idea of having, they want to go to the loo at school, they have to put their hand up and ask teacher, I need to go to the toilet. So they get permission to be able to go and do that. They get conditioned as they grow up, when they're showing respect to such authority figures, that they need to ask permission before they can do something. And if you buy into that idea of your unconscious mind being either the lovable drunk at the end of the night or the little naughty kid, then they still, at an unconscious, subconscious level, need permission to change from an authority figure. And that's what you will, the environment you will create for them and present to them as the professional, diploma-bearing, well-read hypnotherapist, or whatever title you give yourself. People need an excuse to change, that relating back to cognitive dissonance that we talked about, and the fact that they want to remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from themselves. People want someone to blame, so it's removing blame from them, but more than that, so they can externalise it completely and go, oh, it was that that made me do that, or whatnot. There's an element of prestige now, not so much in England as in America, admittedly, but you do start to see more and more celebrities talking about going to see their therapist. And we live in this celebrity culture where people want the 5 minutes of fame, or they aspire to be like celebrities. So there are more people going to see therapists who deep down don't particularly give a shit about changing. It's just that they want to be seen to have a therapist. Samaritans, didn't mention them yesterday, but Samaritans, which was founded by a guy called Chad Vera, if my memory serves me correctly. He summed up helping people with the phrase, don't just do something, sit and listen. Which he went on to explain meant too many therapists get caught up on the idea of you've got to master some wonderful therapeutic technique. That's the only way you're going to be able to help the client. Whereas he found that he basically did nothing really except, so, tell me, what was the issue? Now admittedly, by saying what was the issue is disassociating from the idea that it's still an issue. It's arguably future-pacing the idea that it's not an issue like it once was, because you're not saying what is the issue, you're saying what was the issue, that implies it's less than it was. But other than that, he just let them talk, and invariably, whilst they may not have been cured because he didn't have that context environment in place, they did feel one hell of a lot better. But what he didn't go on to explain, Chad Vera, which I'd say ties in, if you read any books by him, is that it ties in with everything we covered yesterday, because most people don't get anyone who will listen to them without interjecting for 45 minutes or an hour. It's a very rare thing in life. So by virtue of getting that, or getting that attention one-to-one, it makes the person feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, valued, which helps with the self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, self-control, and all the stuff we talked about yesterday. We covered spiritual healing, people hypnotised, done that. We're doing well, we did cover all that. Yeah, one key thing. Reasons why therapists or stage hypnotists big. I'm not going to turn this into a massive rant, it's just to put things in context. You know, yesterday I said certain schools of therapy training go, you've got to tell the client it's nothing like stage hypnosis. Whereas I said, well, you're better off saying to them, well, I can make you run around like a chicken, but we've only got an hour together, so it'll be an extra 50 quid, it's up to you. Do you want to pay extra money or can we get on with it? So that their mind is put at rest, that you're not going to get them to do anything daft, but they still believe that you could have done. So they attach a power and prestige to you. The thing is, a lot of hypnotherapy training schools, books out there, hypnotherapists who weren't taught by me or haven't woken up someone, they'll go on about how stage hypnosis gives hypnotherapy a bad name. And people get the idea it's all about making people do daft things. What they omit to mention is that without stage hypnotists, there wouldn't be hypnotherapy. They like to have a distorted view of history. There are videos in the members area that go into this in more detail, but Mesmer, if you look into him, he wore purple flowing robes, he had props, a big black vat with water and the metal rods and the he was the street hypnotist, because I can't say stage hypnotist, because he wasn't working in the theatre. But he was the street hypnotist of his time. And when you look at it, and I'm just telling you this because I want you to put in another piece of the jigsaw from what I said yesterday. There are names in the world of hypnotherapy that are held up as being pioneers, people who really knew what they were on about. For example, Paul McKenna. He's often in the world of NLP held up as, well, along with Richard Bandler, as being, they're the guys. In America, there's people like Tom Silver, Richard Nongad, who's still alive. Previously, there was Ormond McGill, who's passed away, and Gil Boyne. And these people had numerous books out, hypnotherapy-wise, teaching, ran courses, the ones that, no longer with us, Dave Allman, another. And they are the ones that these conventional, what I call shut-eye hypnotherapy training schools hold up and go, you really need to read the Allman book. You need to study the Allman approach. Or, Ormond McGill, you need to study his, 28 levels of trance, or whatever fucking shite it is. Or Gil Boyne, you need to look at his transforming therapy. When you dig a little bit deeper, what they don't tend to tell you, because they don't want to draw too much attention to it, is that Gil Boyne started off as the cowboy stage hypnotist. That was his character. He was a stage hypnotist, and then he realised there was a load of money to be made in the personal development market. That's when he started doing hypnotherapy. You're going to see a correlation here in a minute. Dave Allman started off as a stage hypnotist in music hall. He was also a radio presenter and lots of other things, but he did stage hypnosis in music hall times before he got into teaching doctors and nurses so-called hypnotherapy. Ormond McGill was a magician, as in a stage magician, Paul Daniels style. Mind reader as well, and stage hypnotist, who realised there was money to be made in the personal development field, and started to sell books and do courses teaching people. Paul McKenna started off as a stage hypnotist. I don't think I need to finish the sentence, you might know where that one was going. Richard Bandler, apparently led to believe, used to do stage hypnosis shows in nightclubs, years and years ago in his student days. Although he might try and reframe that as public demonstrations of the power of mind in an entertaining fashion under hypnosis, it still was fucking stage hypnosis. Gil Boyne, Dave Almond, Tom Silver, stage hypnotist, but he does all this scientific hypnotherapy training, and he was right-hand person to McGill before he passed. I've forgotten some of the names here. There's a video in the private members area where I go through all the most famous, apparently respected pioneers in the field of hypnotherapy. And I point out the fact that they all started off as stage hypnotists. And a fair number of them continued being. And here's the other thing, although they put out dozens and dozens and dozens of books, most of these, and did various different levels of courses, because they'd do one course and then want you to go on another course like we spoke about yesterday, which I think is fucking unethical. Well, there you go. And they said, all of these people said hypnosis is real, a special trance state. They said the polar opposite of what I'm telling you. Unless you read between the lines of what they've written, and you have to read really between the lines. But I can tell you, hand on heart, is it that side, this side? I don't know. Which side is your heart, by the way? That's a genuine question.
Middle.
Middle?
Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd be glad it's not a nursing saying hand on heart, Gil Boyne, I spoke with on a number of occasions before he passed away when he was living in London, when he moved over from California. And Ormond McGill, I spoke to at a Supreme Magic Convention years ago, before he died. Tom Silver I helped bring over to England and do an event a number of years ago. McKenna has referred all of it in his past when he ran a company called McKenna Breen. Paul McKenna advised all of his staff and all of his facilitators, as he called them, his live events where he'd have like 1,000 people earning an LP. He'd have so many facilitators, pair members of the audience. He advised all of them to do my training course. And I have got the written forms, and that's why I'm quite happy to say this on camera, because it's true. I've got the written forms from them all saying Paul McKenna recommended this course. Because they'd all asked to learn stage hypnosis, and Paul said, oh no, I don't teach that. Go on Alex Leroy's course. Bandler, well, again, started as a stage hypnotist. All of them, though, and here's the key, and this is something you've just got to take my word for, but all of them, but I am saying it on camera, anyone can get hold of videos where I've already said this on camera, so if this wasn't true, and was in any way therefore, if it wasn't true, this would be libel. It would be defamation of character if it was not true. And it'd be quite easy for these, I'm sure these people know I say this on video. Guaranteed fact, because I know some of them have bought me videos. The fact is, when they get on their own with someone else who they know knows what they do is bullshit, they will, when they feel safe enough that you haven't got hidden recording equipment, talk to you entirely differently than they would do to a room full of people who are paying them for the Advanced Master Practitioner course, for example. Ormond McGill blatantly spoke to me at Supreme Magic Convention about stage hypnosis being a complete charade. And yet, his book, the new Encyclopedia of Genuine Stage Hypnosis, is held up by the shut-eye hypnotherapist as being the Bible to read. This is a Bible that 95% of it talks about getting people into genuine states of trance and what level of depth you've got to get them into, which is all bullshit. It's all about them making money. Most of them actually do know exactly what I taught you yesterday. In fact, they all know what I taught you yesterday. Whether they'll admit it or not in any circumstance other than secretly ones of all is a completely different matter. Most of them won't because of cognitive dissonance, partly, or because it would bring their empire crumbling down. Because what they sell is an illusion of truth, not a reality. which should kind of be clear if you think through everything we spoke about yesterday. I haven't watched it yet, but I've spoke to a number of people before this event, and I spoke to people who are here in the breaks and at lunchtimes who watched the Anthony Robbins documentary on Netflix, You're Not My Guru. I've got it there ready to watch, I just haven't watched it yet, but I've been told enough to confidently say what I'm about to say without fear of getting sued for libel or defamation of character. Oh well, no, I'll rephrase that. People can always randomly serve papers on you, but without fear of losing such a case if someone was to ridiculously try and scare me with papers for such. So apparently, in a nutshell, from what I understand from what I've been told, this 2-hour documentary, which incidentally Anthony Robbins retained full editorial control over, in other words, nothing he didn't pre-approve was ever going to be included in it, that's a bit fishy in itself, in my opinion. It is a glorified 2-hour infomercial about why you should go on an Anthony Robbins course, where he spends a fair amount of time saying hypnosis is rubbish and is not the way to change your life. But then, when certain people don't get the breakthroughs that they were hoping for, sits them all in a room, tells them to close their eyes and breathe deeply and regularly, and does a fucking hypnotic induction group hypnotherapy session on them at the end. The thing that he says is worthless, but he doesn't use the name hypnosis for it. Obviously.
He does it just before the firework walk.
Right, before the firework. Yeah.
3,000-4,000 people. Right, all hands there, breathe slowly, eyes closed, head down.
And then they go out to do this firewalk and cool, wet grass across the burning, well, you know, the glowing coals. And most of them don't get hurt. Well, I imagine none of them really get any real degree of hurt on You're Not My Guru, but I mean, it's not libelous for me to point out that if you Google Anthony Robbins firewalk injuries, you can find multiple occasions where people have got seriously burned doing it because, and there's only one reason why that could have happened, because it was set up wrong. It must have been set up wrong, or the individual in question must have literally stopped because they thought, yes, I'm on top of the world, I don't feel it. They must have stopped for a few seconds and then cut their feet. Because the fact is, if you continue walking, and it's been set up right, so there's no pointy up, sticky up bits that are suddenly going to impale your foot and stick in which case, yes, you're going to get burnt because you can, until you get the bloody wood out. But as long as it's been set up right, so that once it's burned down from the big fire down to the... it's raked out flat, and then they put finer rake through so that everything's flat. As long as that's been done right, and you walk at this kind of speed, cool, wet grass, cool, wet grass, that phrase kind of helps give you a pace. You're not going to get burned. Because it's the same as a cake in the oven. Put a cake in the tin in the oven, cook it. Towards the end, open the oven, the heat comes out, it's hot, clearly. You press the top of the cake, you'll feel the heat. Don't leave your finger there too long, but you can press down and is it spongy or not? You, if you're daft enough to do it, then touch the tin for the same length of time and you'll instantly get bloody burn blistered. Because the cake doesn't conduct the heat the same way as the tin does. And what you're walking across there is the cake. Because wood, when it's burnt down and it's just down to the charcoal, isn't a good conductor of heat. So as long as you move at an even pace, you don't get burnt. And it's just the same as when my dad in the circus, or when I used to do it, to get a metal rod with bandage on that's covered in bloody light fluid or set on fire, and before fire eating it, he'd be running it up and down his arms and stuff. As long as you moved at an even pace, just the same thing. The only difference was he was moving the fire at an even pace over his body, Whereas with firewalking, you're moving your body at an even pace over the... So it's a sideshow carnival trick. But he presents it in such a way that you're not going to get hurt as long as you believe. And if you do this and you don't get hurt, which you won't if you believe, then that proves that you can change your life. Well, if they believe that enough, fair enough. That can be their permission to change. That can be their excuse to change. That can be the thing that then, you know, when they walk away and the friends say, why didn't you, you know, stop smoking and stop drinking sooner? They can go, you know what? I needed to go to an event like this, and I needed to go through this process, and Anthony Robbins helped me do this firewalk, and by doing that now, I'm sorted. It can, in other words, it can remove all that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them for not having got off their arse and done it themselves sooner. And Anthony Robbins is one of the richest people in the world doing this shit, and I use the term shit in the context of it's bullshit. But it's bullshit with positive intent therapeutically, because hey, you know, if the person comes to you and they need this permission to change, excuse to change, and they want to remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from themselves, which is something that might be going on unconsciously, remember, they might not be consciously aware that that's why they're coming to you, but in truth it is. And you give them all that, and you let them walk away feeling, remember, feelings have no basis in reality, but feeling that they've been hypnotised and have some kind of magical experience, and they then change their life in the way they desired, then you've done exactly what you advertised and promised. So fair exchange is no robbery. You've given them what they needed. So there's no reason to feel guilty about the fact. But by the same token, don't fucking delude yourself. It's anything more than a placebo effect and a ritualistic, important seeming process you're putting them through. Because if you do, well, you'll just fall into the trap of going on more and more courses to be fed more and more bullshit. Before we have a morning break, I'm now going to move more towards the structure of how it's done, as opposed to how it's done. So, a hypnotherapy session. It can be more simplified than this. In theory, it can be, person pays you money, you hypnotise them, you do the therapy, you wake them up. Essentially, it is as simple as that. But to give a bit more clarity and understanding to it, and so that you can put the pieces of the jigsaw together if you've never done this before, so you realise that it is as simple as I've been telling you. I broke it down into 7 steps, or if I should be totally honest with you, I didn't. Dr. Brian Howard, who set up the Association of Professional Hypnotherapists and Parapsychologists, whom I sent £125 to in 1989 and got 3 one-hour audio cassettes and the 64-page book. The book, incidentally, is in the members area because I was so impressed by the company, I bought it. I ended up buying, a couple of years later, the rights to everything, which is why you all become members of the APHP as part of the certification. So we broke it down into this very easy to follow 7-step thing that a hypnotherapy session is. So stage 1, get rapport, stroke, convincer. Well, that is, getting rapport also involves your advertising. So as a stage hypnotist, it's getting that rapport, that belief that you can hypnotise people. They see the posters, they buy the tickets, they come along. As a hypnotherapist, it's them seeing your website, seeing the videos on there where people are going, hi, my name's Dave and I used to smoke this many and then I went along to see hypnotherapist Darren and, you know, my life changed, and seeing that social proof that puts them in the state of mind that this is the person. Because they're not just deciding inwardly that they're going to allow you to be the person to give them permission to change, an excuse to change, and remove self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them. But they're also deciding whether they like the look of you. You know, because ultimately the only thing you've got to offer that's different than me is the fact you look different, you sound different. You can call it something different, you can present it in a different way. But that's wonderful because people like different things. Okay, you can never please all of the people all of the time. So it starts with your advertising. And then, when they come to you, and there's people do 3-week-long courses, I kid you not, on getting rapport in the therapy situation. It fucking boggles my mind. Just get on with the therapy, because all they need is an excuse to change. This is how to get rapport, all you need to know about rapport when they show up. Hi, nice to meet you, David. Is it okay if I call you David?
Yes.
Is that what your friends call you, David, or do you have a nickname or anything?
Yeah, Dave's little stretchy.
Stretchy? Is it alright if I call you Stretchy?
Yes.
Your friends call you. Fantastic, thank you. And that's it. Got rapport. Oh, there was a powerful technique there as well. Always ask them, because you've already got their name on the questionnaire, which we'll come to later, you've got them to fill in before the session, which in itself will help get rapport. And already started to convince them a bit, because this questionnaire you send them in advance seems very important, and but makes them go through a ritualistic process, important seeming, before they even get to you. But you ask them, so you're being very nice to meet you. You know, is that what your friends call you? Is that what your friends call you? Do you have a nickname at all? And if they have, they'll tell you. At which point you say, oh right, cool. If that's what your friends call you, it would be okay if I call you that? And the moment they say yes, it's okay for you to call them that, they've told their unconscious mind, subconscious mind, to completely trust you in the same way they trust a friend. And as the dictionary definition of rapport includes trust, I would argue that that technique has got you the rapport you need for the therapeutic. That's as far as you need to go. Job done. Convincer, or another word for that once they're in the room, could be suggestibility test. I'm going to teach you some of them. They're the physical things we're leading up to. So these are the things so you can prove to people on the street even that you can hypnotise them anytime, any place, anywhere. But in the therapeutic context, we're going to use one of them to just as a final convincer to them that you know what you're doing. You've got this power that just so it makes it that magical experience that they would love it to be, so that it truly removes all blame, shame, guilt and regret from them. Stage 2. Induced a hypnotic trance. I don't fucking believe for 1 minute there is a special state of hypnosis. And although there are scientific studies that show different areas of the brain, as we covered yesterday, equally there's just as many that show there isn't, and equally actually what that's just showing is the effect of suggestion on areas of the brain which is impossible to double-blind study because scientific testing in itself has an inbuilt non-verbal suggestion. So it's impossible to double-blind test it. So anyway, we will cover inductions very shortly. So at that point, you would do your important seeming ritualistic process that takes them into the magical state of hypnosis. Stage 3, deepen the trance. Once again, I don't think there's different depths of trance, because I don't think trance exists in this context. The closest you could possibly get to it is my friend Brian Schroeder's California's theory of perpetual trance state theory, which he discusses briefly in my book Secrets of Professional Stage Hypnosis, Hypnotherapy, Complete Mind Therapy, the book of which is in the members area, or if you wanted a printed copy, go on Amazon. But in a nutshell, he basically says that we are all permanently in some kind of trance, that life itself is a trance. There's the sleep trance, there's the eating trance, there's the at work trance, there's with your children trance, there's with your wife trance, and that all we do as a hypnotist is hijack the trance that people are already in, stressed out, daytime, just got home from work trance maybe, that's when they got to your office, and now take them to one that already they know and exists, so it's not a special state, it's totally natural actually, of relaxed, calm, feeling good, but because of the context and environment it's done in, when they pay money to see a hypnotherapist, the way they perceive it and believe it makes it feel, they perceive it psychologically slightly differently than they would just a normal, natural, relaxing whatever, because of the value they attach to it in their mind, but that ultimately it's just a completely normal, natural thing. Which I think is the closest to being the truth. But, because people have seen black and white films, and colour films as well, I'm not just saying it's only the black and white films, even the colour films, but often when someone's apparently being hypnotised, it'll cut to them and you know, they're doing the classic. I'd like you to imagine now you're going down a staircase of relaxation. With 10 stairs going down, it's a calm, safe, secure staircase. As the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go. So limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy and so tired. And the stereotypical long drawn out voice. And they always talk about the staircase going down and shit like that. Well, that is what's technically the deepening the trance process. People, quite often, if they've got a preconceived idea, expect that. Plus it helps make the whole ritual seem more important. And hey, if on any possible level alone there's something more to this than what I've said, what I believe, what I think and what my experiences are, if possibly by doing this winky wanky go down the staircase shit, it actually does deepen some non-existent trance, or then fuck it, you may as well be doing it. You know, it's not going to do any harm. Step forward. Ego strengthening therapy. Making them feel good about themselves. Relates back to yesterday. Lord cared for. I won't repeat myself. I'm pretty certain you all got that. Stage 5. The specific therapy. In other words, what they come for. If they're currently doing something they don't want to do, that is telling them they don't do it anymore. And that it will be painful if they ever tried to do it. And try implies they wouldn't be able to do, the law of reversed effort. And it's hugely pleasurable not to do it. Or it's that they come to you not doing something they want to do, like the public speaking, in which case we have to make it painful not to do it, and pleasurable to do it. Just change things around, rewire, as we spoke of yesterday. Number 6. Oh, and as for what suggestions do you give them, or as I prefer to call them, commands, because they perceive you as an authority figure, a suggestion is when you go, oh, could you please come here and sit in this chair? That's wishy-washy. You're supposed to be the authority figure who's in charge. Far better to think of them as hypnotic commands. Okay, so from this moment forward, you will no longer need, won't crave, or desire for cigarettes and tobacco. Or whatever bullshit it is. Be more authoritarian. And they say there's different models of hypnosis. You know, there's the maternal, the mothering instinct, like, and there's, oh, it's bullshit. As far as I'm concerned, there is only one model of hypnosis. And that is that people perceive a hypnotist to be the authority figure who puts people in a special state of mind, tells them what to fucking do, and the person does it because they've gone through some magical process. Anything you do that fits outside of that is dissipating your power or the perception thereof in the minds of the people who've already got preconceived ideas. In my opinion and experience. Number 6, the major post-hypnotic command, which is in therapy, essentially in a nutshell, the fact that everything you've said to them and suggested to them will remain with them and grow stronger each second of each minute of each hour, day, week, month and year from that moment forward. And that each and every time they listen to the audio compact disc or MP3 recording that you give them to take away with them after the session, which will have an overwhelming desire to do every other day for the next 28 days, that it will be just as effective as if you were there in the room with them. So that then, when they leave the session and they listen to the CD and whatnot, they're getting, it's like Emil Coups, every day and everywhere, say 3 times a day. 3 times a day. He's brainwashing them. That's what Emil Coups effectively was doing. Well, we're brainwashing them positively with the CD. Positive reinforcement. And because of the way it's phrased, as you'll see, which is the perfection of where I'm leading up to, and I know that's going to end up sounding really big-headed and conceited in some regards, but it is fucking perfection what I'm leading up to. That they are going to be getting constant positive reinforcement, and the seed that's been planted to make them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, to lead on to everything else we spoke about, will be getting watered every other day for 28 days. And as we know and have established, what they feel has no basis in reality, but if they feel good, then everything else has to change positively as well. Number 7, awaken them from trance. I'm saying from trance purely because they're the words, the labels he's been given. But tell them to open their eyes if you want to go down more the route of what I've been saying. So, in a nutshell, hypnotherapists or psychotherapists are just actors playing the part of what people perceive and believe that a therapist of that nature is. Paul Daniels, as it says here, was a magician. He only did tricks that had a secret, and yet the dictionary defines it, labels it as he did magic. In the same way, you're using tricks psychologically, in environment and whatnot, the context of what's going on, to convince people, or to allow themselves to convince themselves, hence all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, that they are being hypnotised to remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from themselves. So, ultimately, although you're using tricks, the process you are doing is, in their mind, hypnotising them, and therefore you are a hypnotist. By definition of the dictionary, even though hypnosis doesn't exist. And personally, I wouldn't really be using the term hypnotherapist anyway, because when you break it down, it makes hypno the rapist. And psychotherapist, even worse, psycho the rapist. Much prefer something like complete mind therapy practitioner or a positive life change consultant. You know? Plus also then you don't just look like all the other fucking hypnotherapists who are in the yellow pages. Something different. Something better makes you stand out. That is as simple as hypnotherapy session is. Obviously you need to know how to do each of those 7 steps, which logically is where we're going to lead to in a moment. But first, I'll show you why all the shut-eye hypnotherapists are wrong when they say stage hypnosis is different to therapy, because these are the 7 steps to stage hypnosis. Stage 1, get rapport and convince us. Sound familiar? Eh? Only difference is here, well, there isn't any difference. It's your advertising. It's just maybe instead of your website, it's the posters and the venue. The convincers, it's a suggestibility test that you do with the whole audience, which, as I'll explain in a minute, is identical. The ones I use are identical to the ones I use in therapy. There is no difference, because that way I find that I'm doing them that often, they become second nature, rather than doing things differently. Why complicate matters? Stage 2, induce the trance. In other words, your ritualistic important seeming process. Now for stage, you might want to make that look a bit more visual and dramatic, make people fall back onto the floor and stuff, but ultimately it's just a process. 3, deepen the trance. Still the same, identical to therapy, 10 down to 1, staircase shape. Ego strengthening therapy. It is same principle to make them feel loved, wanted, needed and all that. But it's also the way it's done. You saw a brief use of it yesterday, you know. For the rest of this evening, nothing will bother you while you're on this stage, but every time you hear the audience clap like this, and I encourage the audience to clap, it's just a sign and a signal of how wonderfully you're using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration. And every time you hear the audience laugh like this, ha 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 ha, same thing. It's a sign and a signal. So they feel good about that feedback. So they feed off that feedback. And it makes them feel happy to be doing what they're doing. They're getting something from it. Number 5, routines of the show. This is where you get them to do the funny stuff, like we covered earlier, which is not that difficult. You tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and then you give them the trigger of the piece of music, the word or whatever, so that they do it. Major post-hypnotic suggestion. Well, there's actually 2 in a stage hypnosis show. One comes up here after you've hypnotised them, where you say to them that for the rest of this evening, whenever I say sleep, as quickly as that, a snap of the fingers, sleep, they'll instantly re-enter this state. That cobblers. And the other one is at the end, where you may tell them that they will feel better than they did before they volunteered. Then you awaken them from trance, and whereas in therapy, when you awaken them, your process of awakening combined with a major post-hypnotic suggestion, in therapy you tell them that everything you've suggested remains with them and grows stronger. With stage, it's just the opposite, where you tell them everything you said is completely cancelled out. So they will not be driving along, hear Elvis on the radio and suddenly start dancing. I think it's unlikely they ever would anyway, because I don't believe, but some attention-seeking fuckwit who wanted to make a compensation claim could think, you know what, I'll do this, I'll knock into this wall, and I'll say it was all the fault of the hypnotist because Elvis came on the radio. Could be possible. So if you've got your show videos, and it clearly shows you said everything's been cancelled out and doesn't affect them in the way you did during the show, then you're covered. It shouldn't be an issue, but there are bloody bullshitters in this world who would try and make false claims. So yeah, therapy, you tell them it all remains. Stage, you tell them it's removed except one suggestion, that they feel better than they did when they volunteered. And then you wake them up. It's the same structure. So people sometimes say to me, Jonathan, because that's my name, not stage name, say to me, Jonathan, okay, that's hypnotherapy sessions in 7 simple steps. And that's stage hypnosis shows in 7 simple steps. And sometimes I say, well, what about street hypnosis? And I say, the only difference is, you're on the street, but effectively, it's those 7 simple steps. And I say, well, what about doing group hypnotherapy sessions where there's like 50 people or 100 people, or maybe even more in the room, who all want to stop smoking, or all want to lose weight, or whatnot. And I say, you know what? You get rapport with them. Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Do we all want to stop smoking? Or whatever the nature of context of the event is. Yes, of course. You do a suggestibility test with them all. One that's guaranteed to work on the majority of people the majority of the time, as you will learn very shortly after the morning break. You then tell everybody in the room to close their eyes. And you go through an induction, important seeming ritualistic induction process, which I will teach you shortly. But you've told everyone, I'm talking to everyone in the room, everybody close your eyes, I'm talking to you all, do and imagine what I say. You tell them all to imagine going down the staircase from 10 down to 1. You tell them all how wonderfully you're all using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration and all that bullshit. You at number 5, do the therapy session, but word it in such a way that it can apply to every individual person in the room at the same time. So, you're not saying, so sir, Dave, as you relax more, you'll realise now the taste of tobacco or the smell. It tastes like donkey shit running down your throat. No. You'd be saying, everybody in the room, imagine now in your mind's eye that if ever you were, out of curiosity, to try and inhale on a cigarette or tobacco in another form, that you instantly realise in your mind's eye it's almost as if it's like donkey shit running down your throat. Only difference is I'm talking to everybody. Otherwise it's a hypnotherapy session. Post-hypnotic, that they'll all listen to their CDs, the same. Awaken them from trance, the same. The only difference is whether you've got one person or a ton of people that you're doing the session with. It really is just that structure. And again, the stage hypnotist is merely an actor, playing the part of what people perceive and believe them to be. So, where do we get to after that? Oh yeah, practical stuff after the morning break. Good, I'm on track! This is a rarity for me. Trust me, if you look at stuff in the members area, it never runs to time normally. That's encouraged me and anchored me to the idea of using a flip chart. Right, so to bring together what I would classify as the theory side of stuff, because what follows after the morning break is more practical. It's getting them to do things. It's going through the process of ending up believing that they're hypnotised. It's hypnotising them. It's also then how to get clients, because that's the marketing of getting clients is part of the brainwashing process, which you'll see as the day goes on. But for now, without repeating everything I said yesterday, in terms of all the different models of hypnotherapy and psychotherapy and counselling, the APEP model of human givens, the cognitive behavioural model, the behaviour model, and all the bloody stuff that there was that much of it, I can't remember myself, that we all linked it all together and saw that it all basically said and meant the same thing. You need to truly, genuinely, like I said yesterday, truly, genuinely believe, sincerely, in every fibre, tissue and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, that what I've told you so far is true. Now, if there is even the slightest element of doubt, then just as we spoke about the law of attraction, you will fuck yourself over and have a harder time than is necessary. Doubt will get in the way. You have to truly believe it. So here's some suggestions to help you get closer to that state of mind more rapidly. Because you need to believe confidence and intent, whether it's stage or therapy or street or whatever, is the key. It's the start, beginning, the middle and end of it all. You've got to act like you're a hypnotist, project that belief that you can hypnotise people, and also it helps, which we will cover a bit later, to do things in a manner where you've always got an escape route. So it's always presented in a manner where it can never go wrong, or at least it's never perceived to have gone wrong. And it's never your fault. If it doesn't work, it's the client's fault or the volunteers, not yours. Because when you know you can't fail, or be perceived to have failed, you know you can never feel as though you've failed. And then that will automatically give you more confidence. But you need to know what I've been telling you is true. So a brief recap on some things, but others are just saying, do what I'm about to tell you, and it'll cement it in your head. Firstly, remember what I said yesterday. Until Delavar's main advice to me was that it was down to me to believe and project that belief to the people, and then the show would work better. He said that basically the show that cocked up was due to me not having total faith, doubting it slightly. And because I saw him as this experienced stage hypnotist who'd been doing it for years, I had faith that what he was telling me the truth, especially because he came from a circus background family where people share their skills. So I went away with more confidence in myself, and guess what? I did the exact same thing I'd done at the last show except obviously I must have done it differently in terms of my demeanour, the way I projected it, what was the script I was running inside my head, and it worked. You need to do the same. Brian Howard effectively said in his APHP course, do as I do, say as I say, and you will get the same results as long as you believe that you will. Spoke about that yesterday. Oh, rest assured, that is very, very true, as will become clearer very shortly. Remember, and this isn't me trying to brag with any of this stuff that's about to come up. You know, you paid money to be here, you're spending time to be here. You need to truly understand and get your head around the fact that I'm telling you is the truth. Remember, I've been doing hypnotherapy since 1989 when I was 14. Yes, I lied about my age to the newspaper, said I was 18 because I was clever enough to know that, you know. But I've been doing it that long, and this is exactly how I've been doing it. If it didn't work, what I'm telling you, by now, I'd have found out. It does work. I've been doing stage shows since 1990. Again, I've travelled the world. I've worked with McKenna, I've been on TV, I've had my own TV series in Germany, on German RTL, the borderline porno channel. It's not a porno, it may as well be. I filmed my own 6-part television series in Amsterdam, for sailing Europe. I've been there, I've done it, I've worn the fucking t-shirt out. I would not have been able to do any of that if what I'm saying didn't work. The only other option would be that I'm lying to you, and I'm not. Because honestly, it wouldn't make total logical sense, like I hope the way I presented it to you yesterday, that it does. It wouldn't all fit together. It's too much of a coincidence. For me, I don't believe in coincidences. All those different models of psychotherapy and conventional approaches, and when you piece them together and look at it and decipher the words, what it truly means, they all end up saying the same thing. That coincidence, or is that because that's why these things work? I know which one I'm more inclined to believe, and have done throughout my career. Go on Google. Google's a good way to brainwash yourself, condition yourself, convince yourself, whatever you want to call it, that everything I've taught you is true. And to give you the faith to be able to project that to your clients. Google the phrase professional organisation of stage hypnotists. And you'll probably get fed up after the first 5 or 6 pages of responses from Google, but if you want to carry on, because there's loads of them, and see who are members of, in fact you can also search for member of professional organisation of stage hypnotists, do both phrases. See which stage hypnotists around the world, all over the world, say they are members of that. And then remember that I set up the professional organisation of stage hypnotists, and that pretty much means they were taught by me, those people. I'll let you find out for yourself how many famous television name hypnotists in different countries in the world I either originally taught or taught how to do it properly down the line after they've been incorrectly taught. I'll let you find out for yourself exactly how many famous hypnotists who've been doing it for years came to me for training to learn how to make more money from it, and as part of that process ended up proudly stating that they're a member of the professional organisation of stage hypnotists. I know this sounds arrogant, but I'm saying you need to see that what I'm saying is true, and this is the way to do it. If you Google member of POSH, well yeah, just as POSH, that'll be that. I also set up the Royal Institute of Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy. Remember my name's spelled Royal, R-O-Y-L-E. So you can search Royal Institute of Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy, but because some people can't spell, if you search R-O-Y-A-L, Royal Institute of Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy, some people have put that on their websites around the world as well. But anyway, if you search for that, you'll see how many hypnotherapists, psychotherapists, NELPers, life coaches, Tibetan mindfulness, call it what you will. how many therapists there are around the world, and there are literally thousands of them that I have taught, who are earning their living doing the final bit that I'm about to teach you this afternoon, the physical process of it. But they're doing it the way they learn from me. And you look at it, well, if they're doing it, it works for them. Why won't it work for you? The only reason it wouldn't work for you is if you half-heartedly don't believe. That's why I'm telling you that you've got to believe. Google the Association of Complete Mind Therapists or Association of Complete Mind Therapy Practitioners. See how many people worldwide say they're members. And by virtue of them saying that, that means they were taught by me, because I devised Complete Mind Therapy, the title, trademark. These are the clues for you to find. I mean, in fairness, if you put in taught by Jonathan Roy, a lot of websites come up, but way more come up if you search the association names. I made it a bit easier for some of the stuff if you just go to the website www.htglive.com, which, the domain name of which is on the business card that's inside your pink folder, and also inside one of the DVD cases. If you go to that website address and quite simply set aside half an hour to watch all the testimonial videos that are on there, and if you book your ticket on that site, it's still worth going back, because I've added about another dozen testimonial videos in the past 2 days alone, and I've got another 20 that will be uploaded by about Monday night coming up. And hopefully there will be some more testimonial videos from your good selves at the end of today for me to add there. But there's loads more added from people all over the world, Florida, California, Denmark, all over the bloody place. Listen to what they have to say, and remember that I taught them exactly 1,000,000% identically the same stuff that I'm sharing with you right now. Now, I may have said it in different words, and I might have sometimes done a course that years ago that was just sports psychology only, sports improvement only. But all of it essentially was the same as I've taught you. But if you wanted to specialise in sports psychology, rather than me upselling a course to you on sports psychology, I don't need to because I've already done it, and I don't see the point, because you'd ultimately end up going, well, it's just different ways of using what I already know and what I've already shown you. But go into the Yes Course members area, log in with your username and password. If you've forgotten them, it's your email address and the password stuck on the sticker on the front of your pink folder, where you can log in at yescourse.com, and look down the list and find where it says sports psychology, and watch those videos, and you will have the exact same training as the people who went to the sports psychology seminar. You never need to buy anything off anyone ever again. I genuinely, truly mean that. And also on htglive.com, click on all the links where it says read more testimonials here. Go and read them, and you'll see testimonials in writing with the names of the people and links to their websites, so you can see that they're genuine human beings and not something that's made up, right? And in a lot of cases they're authors of books, so you can check these people are real. And you'll see testimonials from plastic surgeons, medical GPs, psychiatrists, nurses, cancer surgeons, and hypnotherapists, all manner of people who are apparently perceived experts in their field, saying that without doubt the single best hypnosis training course they've ever attended was mine. That is slightly egotistical, but that's not me saying it, that's them. See it, look who they are, and then realise that when you check out SLAR, that a lot of them went through the conventional route, and they very bravely have managed to overcome cognitive dissonance, and are admitting by virtue that they wasted thousands and thousands of pounds and weeks and months and years of their life going through the conventional route, when they now blatantly say they learn way more in 2 days than they did from all those courses. You need to understand that, you need to realise that, you need to believe that, because then you will have the confidence to transmit to your clients that it does work. Hey, and don't forget, I'm just throwing this in out of ego, I am the only fourth hypnotist in the entire world since the South African Academy of Hypnosis was set up to ever be inducted into their Hall of Fame. So you've got an award-winning hypnotist teaching you, who's teaching you the truth. And there's a damn good reason, again, this does sound arrogant, but you put it in context and check out some of the other hypnotherapy trainings out there. It's very easy to fake apparent success. Well, short term it is. But there's a fucking good reason why I was able to buy before I was 30. I'm 41 now. I bought my own home. Alright, it was only a 2-bed apartment at the time. Outright for cash. And by outright for cash, I mean no mortgages, no loans, no borrowing. And I did literally go in with a briefcase, open it, and it was £20 notes. And they shit themselves and took me in the back room, and they actually shut the offices and all for them counting it on. I did that, it's probably the most arrogant up my arse thing I've ever done, because it was totally unnecessary. I could have done a bank transfer, right? But I wanted to be able to stand here today and at previous events, and just generally in life, and be able to say, and have that feeling of memory and association inside myself, that I did walk in and buy my own home outright for cash, like you see on a fucking movie. There's the briefcase. I literally bought it. So I'm going to buy my house. I've got the paperwork. I said, oh, are you doing a bank transfer? No. Oh. Well, the point is, the cash that bought that home outright for cash was earned from stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy. It was earned doing exactly what I taught you yesterday, and what I'm going to teach you this afternoon. And if there's any little bits missing that you need to fine tweak, they will be in the SHITNOSIS members area. So there is nothing missing. It's just not all of you are going to want to become the leader in sports psychology. I can imagine one person it would be a good idea to, straight away, you, Alex, if you don't mind me saying, yeah. Because from a marketing point of view, to be able to go, you know, former Olympian boxer, who's now spent years studying personal development and all that, and techniques that help you have such a strong marketing angle. But as I say, look at the sports psychology section for that. If you're wanting to do stage hypnosis, look at the transparency template. Although by the end of the day, a lot of this will be a lot clearer anyway. As a side note, hypnosis, these things I've taught you, that property, by the way, I don't live here anymore. When you see people on the internet go, don't you live in a flat? No. It's now rented out, producing a rental income. I live in a 3-bedroom house, thanks. And I'll be moving next year into another one, and that one will be rented out. All of it produced ultimately through bullshit. Oh, helping people change their lives for the better. Now you look at it. So I proudly stand here today and say to you, each and every one of you, and by the end of today, I'm sure that you too will proudly be able to feel this within yourself, that to be really good and successful as a hypnotherapist or stage hypnotist, A, you need to understand what we've covered. Secondly, you've got to get off your arse and do something, but we'll cover that more later in the day. But thirdly, ultimately, you need to get your head around the idea that you need to become the best possible con man you can. Or con woman if you're a female. Because con man, the split up is con man. Con stands for confidence. Confidence trickster is another term for con man. And the key to all of this is to have confidence that it will work, present it in a manner where people perceive it as being worthwhile, and that you know what you're doing, and that you know you're never going to tell people, when you start doing therapy sessions, Malcolm, for example, at no point are you ever going to tell people that that is your first hypnotherapy session. Never! You've been doing it for ages, through the process of learning. Because during your training course, which has taken a long time, I suggest you don't tell people that you've just attended a 2-day course. It's taken a long time. You finally gained hard-earned diplomas and qualifications, and you know, but during that course you were actually treating people and stuff, weren't you? Yeah, yes you were, of course you were. So, because nobody would ever want to be the first. And no stage hypnotist in their right mind is ever going to go, please come along and see my first attempt at this bullshit. or any such thing. It sets the wrong atmosphere. And it is about atmosphere, it's about creating an environment. With that in mind, brews, cigarettes for those who are still so inclined. Anyone who wants raffle tickets, dues about, again, a £10, but you can win the £600 website pack. If you don't win, you get a £50 voucher, and the website's cheaper anyway this weekend, so it comes down even more. We've got a leaflet about that. Can we back in at 22, please? Cheers, thanks a lot.